It looks as if the Miami Dolphins are going to need a new quarterback coach and passing game coordinator, as Darrell Bevell is expected to take the offensive coordinator job in Vegas, reuniting with Pete Carroll. Also, we've got a development on the Anthony Weaver front, as it looks like his time in Miami just may be for at least one more year, plus another former recent Miami coach that was a fan favorite gets his first big shot at a defensive coordinator job, and coincidentally, it's in Florida. We will talk about all that plus more, as I'm wearing the AFC hat because it's the day of the Pro Bowl. Smash that like button, subscribe if you're new, and let's get into this.
Loses the football. Touchdown! Got it!
You have got to be kidding me.
Jalen Waddle has a Dolphin touchdown. And he will score!
Field down the near side, man open. Touchdown!
The run from Tua Tagovailoa.
Touchdown!
He's going deep. He's got it for the touchdown again.
Tagovailoa trying to make up for it. Fires to the end zone. Touchdown!
Touchdown, Dolphins! Beautiful day to be a Dolphin fan. Let's go!
What is good, Fin Nation? What's good? It's your boy Reason. We are back here for another one, as it is the day of the Pro Bowl. The Senior Bowl wrapped up yesterday, and it is for real right now. Jaxson Dart is really in contention for QB2. I declared him my quarterback 2 in certainty a few weeks ago. I just like his ceiling much better than Shedeur Sanders. And I just think there's things that he does better, and he has traits that are uncoachable, while the things he needs to be developed in, he's already flashed in and showed growth in over his time in college. So he's got traits that aren't coachable and traits that can be coached up. And Dart, man, the ceiling on him and Milroe probably have the two highest ceilings in this draft. Speaking of quarterbacks in this draft, Kyle McCord, someone we've been talking about on the channel since November as another option. We've been talking about McCord. I think McCord and Dart, when it's all said and done, are going to be my man crushes. Seth Hennigan, who I've been talking about the last couple weeks since I dove into his film, how much I loved him and how he's cracked my top 10. Isn't it funny? Talk about Bech all this week during the Super Bowl on this channel. And then Seth Hennigan throws the walk-off touchdown to win the Senior Bowl. With that was hilarious. But Hennigan just missed making that man crush list. I think it's going to be Kyle McCord and Jaxson Dart when it's all said and done. And I'm hearing McCord is going to be drafted in the first 3 or 4 rounds. Like, I'm hearing people are just not high enough on him. So we'll see. We will see. And shout out to Bech. He was named the Senior Bowl MVP, dedicated this week because his brother Tiger had just passed away. Man, that kid balled. And again, you look at Emeka Buka, Bech, Tent McMillan, Jaden Higgins, guys with that prototype we are looking for to complement the speed we have. You can find them throughout this draft. There they are. So he earned some money this week. So did, speaking of guys who earn money, Zabel and Savannah. Listen, I don't want 2 rookies starting, but imagine if you got somehow Gray Zabel and Jonas Savannah. I mean, those are the type of linemen that'll change the interior. I like a guy, Clay Webb. I love him because he's a wrestler. Jackson Slater's another guy, small school guy, but I really think if you could get, even getting a Zabel or Savannah and then pairing them with a Webb or Slater could change this interior. You know me and how I love my wrestling interior offensive linemen, right? You all know that's just what I like. That's when I see that, I really start to salivate. And then when the film backs up what I'm seeing, I like it even more. And, you know, you find some nastiness, right? You find some nastiness, and that's what we need on that interior. Really, it is. So, yeah. Clay Webb's got that background, wrestling background. Jonas Savannah's got that nasty Samoan background, Polynesian background, and hey, Gray Zabel, he's played in cold weather, right? North Dakota. So, but man, Senior Bowl all wrapped up, and now we're getting ready for the Pro Bowl. And man, what a difference a year makes, right? Last year, Tua was the first Dolphins Pro Bowler at quarterback since 1995. Miami had 6 Pro Bowlers last year. Tua, Tyreek, Ingold, Armstead, Mostert, and Ramsey. And then you fast forward to this year, missed the playoffs. And we have just one Pro Bowler being Jonnu Smith. While we're watching Robert Hunt get a $100 million contract and make the Pro Bowl with the Carolina Panthers. I mean, when it rains, it pours as a Miami Dolphin fan. And I don't know if you guys watched some of that. We're doing trivia now. Like, they had Jonnu Smith as one of the things on the Pro Bowl doing trivia. Like, I remember back in the 90s, you know, when they had to hit the moving targets and who could throw the farthest and all that kind of stuff. I remember when this stuff was actually fun to watch. Now, we're doing trivia. That's a trivia night is one of the things we're doing. Listen, I thought the NHL All-Star Game was a joke. The NFL one has found a new level. Congratulations. I don't even know if I'm going to watch it. At least the Senior Bowl kids are playing for something, right? They're trying to move up around, you know, because that's the difference in making some money and bringing home a real bag, especially if you're trying to move up from the third into the second or the second into the first, you know? Like, you know, why did Shamar Stewart and everyone go home early this week, those few guys? Because they knew they were going to be carrying home bags. So, you know, they're playing for something. This, I don't know. You know, like, this is just brutal. This is just brutal. Like, get back to, like, who throws the hardest. Moving targets outside. Like, remember when Marino had to make that deep throw in that moving target to win the whole contest, and he did make the throw? That was crazy. Remember when Brett Favre, didn't he throw for like 70 yards when he won the who could throw the farthest competition? Like, get back to that stuff. Make it outside, nice weather. Like, now it's kind of just a fanfare joke, you know, but they've done that to a lot of these things. Hey, remember watching the draft back in the 90s and the early 2000s? You just see, whether it's the NHL, NFL, wherever, you just see guys on phones, all the little tables and phones. And now it's this whole big, you know, extravaganza. Just like they've even turned the combine into like an extravaganza now. It's crazy. Anything, you know, when they can monetize anything, they will, I guess. Hey, but that makes them a $1 billion industry. And that's why you got people like me up here being full-time content creators speaking about NFL teams. So I ain't knocking the hustle. Let me tell you that. But, you know, it just is crazy going back to what started this. It's crazy the difference a year can make, you know. We were week 17, December 2023, in the mix for the number 1 seed, especially if you won that game against Baltimore, get blown out. We don't have to get into the Tyreek Hill drop, et cetera, et cetera. Next week, we're now into January 2024. A little over 12 months ago now. Beat the Bills at home, mind you, and lock up the division. And you know why I think a lot of us thought they could do that? Because they locked up that the way they locked up that playoff spot in a December game on a final drive against the Dallas Cowboys, who were also, they were the best of their division yet because Jaden Daniels hadn't been drafted and the Eagles were having an off year. And they were going to the playoffs, and everyone was like, yeah, they did it. That's why we all believed they would win one of those two, and sure enough, they lost it. We went from playing for the number one seed in the AFC 13 months ago to a little over 12 months ago, playing for the number one seed, to now don't even have one Pro Bowler, and it's Jonnu. Crazy. So let's get into everything. Speaking of Tua, it's something we've talked about, and I'm going to talk into a little bit in depth about it here, but it does seem that Darrell Bevell is expected to go to the Vegas Raiders. Aaron Wilson out of Houston, who's very reliable. Multiple NFL sources expect Dolphins passing game coordinator and quarterback coach Darrell Bevell to ultimately land Raiders offensive coordinator job. Process remains ongoing and active, though. He's a former Seahawks, Jags, Lions, Vikings coordinator. Look at this below it. He's quote tweeting a tweet from today where the Raiders interviewed Texans quarterback Jared Johnson. So this is coming out after they completed an interview today. And he had mentioned another strong contender is Darrell Bevell per sources. And look at now after they interviewed Jared Johnson, it comes out. Yeah. So this tells you Darrell Bevell's not only the leading candidate, it's coming down the pipeline. So basically lock it up and expect it to go. Now I got a few things to say about this. Number one, and I say this all the time, when it wasn't popular in Mike McDaniel's first year, when I saw the flaws with his play calling, again, one of the first ones to see, again, I was one of the biggest McDaniel fans there was. I wanted him or Pep Hamilton to be our OC when we settled on Godsey and Stoodsville. So I've wanted him for quite some time. But this is where people try to tell you I'm too big a fan of this person. This will tell you how objective I am. In year one, McDaniel, who I wanted and who I praised them for bringing in, I was already calling for a change of play calling and saying this guy's not ready for it yet. I can see in year one because I'm objective and I can watch film and I'm not a dumbass. So I knew what was up. I was saying Bevell's the guy. He's won a Super Bowl. He's OC to 2 Super Bowls. With Russell Wilson, they're a top 5 offense, etc., etc. It was not a popular opinion. Just like when I said the Jerome Baker extension was bad, and now we've seen Jerome Baker can't even stick with one team in a 365-day span since he left the Dolphins because he's not good. So I could see this and where it was going early on. And Darrell Bevell had the resume. But what did I say for all you Patreons and all you channel members who heard me earlier in this offseason? I had an update. Frank Smith wasn't going anywhere. There was no chance of a promotion for Darrell Bevell. I got wind of it's not happening. Darrell Bevell is not going to get promoted to OC. And he's not going to be given play calling duties. Frank Smith is, favored by Mike McDaniel. And then I've seen some people online, Tua's losing his crutch. No, I'm not worried about this at all. I think you're losing one of your best offensive minds. Look at this. John Embry, great resume with tight ends. How's that tight end room worked out minus Jonnu Smith? And why did it work out with Jonnu because of Tua? Frank Smith, tight end resume, offensive line resume. How has that worked out with developing guys, et cetera, et cetera? From Tanner Conner to Julian Hill. They let Elijah Higgins, the best one of those 3, walk. Those 2 other guys have given us nothing. Robert Jones, Liam Eichenberg, trash. Like, yeah, they helped fix Austin Jackson. Yeah, they helped the convert of Connor Williams, who's no longer here. Patrick Paul remains to be seen. They tried to sell me Keon Coleman at the post-season presser, and I almost fell out of my chair laughing when we were live going over that. So, not really good track records. Now, are the track records behind Tua good? No. But we saw promise with Huntley against the Browns. Now, it also was DTR's the worst quarterback in the NFL, and then the wheels fell off against the Jets. But look at Tua alone. Darrell Bevell's been instrumental in that. Look at Tua. So, and, I'm not worried. Like I think they're going to go bring in like a Bobby Slowick. Now, I'm not a huge fan of the stuff that came out after Bobby Slowick left. Apparently, during the draft process interview with the Texans, they were talking about some play, and CJ Stroud, this is what we call it in Ohio State, and apparently Bobby Slowick had enough and got up in his face and said, this isn't effing Ohio State. We call it this here. We call that this here, and this is how it is in the NFL. Blah 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 blah, and got in his face, and CJ Stroud got in his face, and then so much to a point that the team who interviewed him after the Texans did asked him, "How'd your last interview go?" And someone in that room said that CJ Stroud said it went terrible. He didn't think that, and so it seems like the relationship was really bad to the point where they just waited for them to have a down year, which happened this year, and Bobby Slowick was out. Now, it makes sense because his brother, first of all, a couple reasons. Number one, Bobby worked with, Bobby Slowick worked with the Mike McDaniel because he was part of the San Francisco. I'm pretty sure he was part of that little San Francisco group. Right now, you've got Ryan Slowick is the senior defensive assistant. He's also the outside linebackers coach. In 2023, he's a defensive backs coach and pass game specialist right now. But Bobby was over before he was OC. He was OC in Houston. He was the offensive passing game coordinator in 2022 with San Fran. The year before that, he was the offensive pass game specialist. So he was there with Mike McDaniel. It just makes sense. Now, again, you got another chance to show some balls here, McDaniel. You really do. Go get Doug Peterson. Now, I know it's going to be hard. You're going to have to pay him. But somehow you got an OC quality, guy to fill in for your quarterback coach the last couple of years with Darrell Bevell. But Doug Peterson has ties to the franchise, offer him a ton of money. He's been, earlier in his career, he was a quarterback's coach. I'd go try and get Doug Peterson. Imagine that, adding that kind of as a quarterback's coach, and just give him the second title as passing game coordinator. Just make him in charge of the passing game. That's what I'd do. If Doug Peterson is willing to take the passing game coordinator, QB coach, all day, baby. Come here. Let's go. But it's probably going to be, let's be honest, it's probably going to be Bobby Slowick. Played wide receiver too, just like McDaniel during college. So, they got that connection there. They're going to stick together. So, it probably is going to be Bobby Slowick. But Doug Peterson, let's get some fresh mind in here. Because here's another thing. All these other people too. Oh, Tua's on his crutch. Bro, I don't even care about Tua with Bevell. I'll tell you right now why I wanted Bevell. If Greer and McDaniel are on their ass because we start 2-4, 2-6, and they get canned, and Weaver, who I hope sticks around, becomes your head coach, this is your OC. You got a guy who can smoothly transition to be your OC for Weaver and Darrell Bevell. Now, you're in a position where if Anthony Weaver is the interim coach, Frank Smith's actually going to have to become a play caller, or he gets canned and someone else. Like, that's another reason why I want them to bring in, Doug Peterson. Promote him. But that was an OC candidate. Now, if you bring in Bobby Sloak, it's going to be between Bobby Sloak and Frank Smith. And they're probably going to can Frank Smith because of how tight he is with McDaniel. Just my opinion. I don't know. So, speaking of Anthony Weaver, now, here is an update. The Saints plan to meet again with Kellen Moore after the Super Bowl. A strong side, he's the top candidate for the team's head coaching job, sources tell the insiders. Under NFL rules, the sides can't speak again until after the game, which is February 9th in New Orleans. Now, why does that matter? Because from what I understand, they basically let all the other candidates know. And the other candidates being Mike Kafka. Mike McCarthy has dropped out, basically. He's not coaching. So Mike Kafka and Anthony Weaver have basically been let know, hey, we're waiting till February 9th because we want to continue talking with Kellen Moore. That tells you they want Kellen Moore. Now, anything can happen. Kellen Moore could decide, hey, I'm backing out, etc., etc. But I don't think so. I mean, even Ian Rappaport said, right? The Saints plan to meet again with Kellen Moore after the Super Bowl, an indication he's the top choice for new head coach. So that's their top choice. So Anthony Weaver looks like he's going to be probably staying. Now, the other question is, especially with the defense, is what's going to happen with the Miami Dolphins and their other top assistant, Ryan Crow, right? The outside linebackers coach. He's getting a lot of opportunities right now, interviewing with, I believe, not only the New England Patriots available, but also, if I remember correctly, also the Cowboys for the defensive coordinator position. I believe it was the Cowboys, if I remember correctly. Yeah, Ryan Crow. He interviewed like last week. So Ryan Crow is becoming a little bit of a hot name, but it looks like he's probably going to be staying. This is early on, but this is an indicator that the next year or two, Ryan Crow is probably going to get a defensive coordinator position, and Anthony Weaver is going to get a head coaching position probably next season. So maybe it works out where if a guy like Weaver leaves and everything works out this year and we win a playoff game and everyone sticks around, they might have the in-house answer of Ryan Crow with continuity at DC. I really think Austin Clark should get a look. I don't think he's getting a fair enough shake. You know, you look at what he's done with the defensive line and the players he's helped develop. I think he's a damn good coach too, personally, and it just seems like a smart guy. So, yeah, I don't know. We'll see. We will see. Speaking of defensive coaches, though, a former Dolphins defensive coach, shout out to him, Anthony Campanile, who was a fan favorite after the Dolphins' last feature on Hard Knocks for his big speech. He is getting a chance as defensive coordinator at Jacksonville. So he is coming back to Florida after being in Green Bay. I know, the reason why I even mentioned that, because I know a lot of fans wanted him, were saying, hey, if Anthony Weaver leaves, why don't you go back and get Anthony Campanile? Why don't you go after blah, 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 blah. Well, there you go. He's got an opportunity, and it isn't in Miami. So, we'll see. We will see how it goes. Listen, guys, do me the favor, smash the like button. Subscribe if you are new. Wild weekend. Jey Uso wins the men's Royal Rumble. And Luka Doncic traded for Anthony Davis. The Senior Bowl wraps up. And we got the Pro Bowl happening tonight. Go Jonnu. Enjoy the Pro Bowl. Have a great Sunday. And we'll see you on the next one. Until then, you're in time. It is Fins Up all day, every day. Love all y'all. And I'll see y'all on the very next one.